A few years ago, the entire video game space was swamped by a veritable tsunami of battle royales and roguelikes. Both those genres took traditional progression systems and condensed them down into matches lasting 20 minutes or runs lasting a couple hours at most. The fast turnaround of those structures allowed for higher risks and higher rewards, and the resulting dynamic intensity was so engaging that the flood of roguelikes and battle royales has still not abated. In 2024, however, I believe we are witnessing the surge of another, different trend. Extraction shooters have been around for a while, but their structure has begun spilling over into other genres. Go in, grab the shit, and get out is a formula now repeated in Lethal Company, in Helldivers 2, in the Vault Hunters mod for Minecraft, and, of course, in Pacific Drive. Pacific Drive marries the compartmentalized risk-reward structure of extraction games with a well-chosen selection of survival mechanics. Tools wear out and break. Your car's fuel has its limits, as does its battery life. Damage to you or your car can be repaired with items and resources found out in the world. Those resources are also crucial in upgrading your car's components and adding more functionality to your garage. The threat of failure is posed by a wide range of supernatural anomalies, which are meant to be avoided rather than confronted. Pacific Drive has no combat, no real NPCs, and not even any meaningful exploration. The whole point is to just loot the materials you need and extract safely. Death means the loss of everything you and your car were carrying. The structure of Pacific Drive, then, is quite simple, but where it excels is in housing that structure within some truly beautiful and profound aesthetics and thematics. The retro-futuristic neon of the dashboard's diegetic UI. The quiet backdrop of natural forest that all the craziness is juxtaposed against. The intimidating anomalies, great and small, each of which only teach what they do by doing it to you. The atmosphere is palpable, and it comes oozing out of every orifice. It is the kind of thick, hostile atmosphere that makes you cough and splutter and look for a way out. This place is not meant for humans, but it is, nevertheless, where you have ended up. Unfortunately, my love letter to Pacific Drive's aesthetic and thematic elements must skid to a halt there, because for me the rubber does not develop any meaningful traction when it actually meets the road. All the window dressing in the world cannot make up for a gameplay loop that is fundamentally boring, repetitive, and uninteresting. In the no-clip documentary, Designing the World of The Witcher 3, one of the developers explains their design goal of having the player encounter something interesting at least once every 30 seconds as they traverse the world. Pacific Drive condenses that loop down to maybe 10 seconds, or even less at times. And while that may sound like the world is more dense and engaging, there is a problematic lack of variety. Every new thing you come across only evokes one of two responses. Try to drive around it, or get out and loot the place. The unrelenting frequency with which anomalies are encountered actually makes them less threatening and more annoying. This game could have lent more in the direction of horror, where tension builds over time for a bigger payoff. But there is no tension here, because it is released every 5 seconds by the appearance of yet another threat that, while perhaps unique, is not dealt with in any meaningfully unique way. To me, Pacific Drive's gameplay feels like wandering through no man's land under constant shellfire without even a rifle to fight back with. Sure, maybe some of the shells are shrapnel instead of HE, but do you really care? And to make matters worse, there aren't even any comrades to commiserate with. With the exception of the monotonous bombardment of anomalies, the world is completely empty. The non-player characters all remain hidden in the radio, and the player character is nothing more than an empty shell that you step into. Games have the power to introduce us to all kinds of new and interesting people and experiences. But for me, the experience of a lonely man driving a car full of junk
through a cruel and indifferent world is not exactly interesting or new.
Again, I understand that this is how I'm supposed to feel when I play Pacific Drive. I'm supposed to feel alone and impotent, my only companion a shitty old jalopy as I'm confronted with supernatural power beyond my comprehension. And while Pacific Drive certainly delivers on that concept in an aesthetic, thematic, and atmospheric sense, I think it fails at making an interesting game out of it. The environments and anomalies may be varied and unique, but my interactions with them are not. Every threat is just something to circumnavigate, and every building just has stuff to loot. And it seems like the only object of the game is to loot a whole bunch of buildings. It is for these reasons that Pacific Drive is not for me. But that's okay, because it might be for you. If you care more for style than substance, if the retrofuturism on display here seems utterly enthralling, and if you like the idea of a station wagon being your only friend, then you might just enjoy the hell out of Pacific Drive.